And everybody, this is Table Topics. This is where we get to ask a question and then you have to come up with an answer on the fly and really think about how you're going to answer that question. Tonight, I'm taking on the role a little bit late, so I couldn't come up with a plethora of questions, but I did decide to center everyone around one question, and that is the theme of tonight. So when I ask you, I want you to tell me about your most memorable experience, first experience as a kid. Your most memorable first experience when you're a kid. I told you about my motorcycle experience, and Mark has told us about the pony that he got. And I'm going to quickly tell you about another experience that I had, because my motorcycle experience was very positive and I had a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. But I had a second experience that was very memorable for me when I was a kid. I was playing with a bunch of friends, and I grew up in a small town called High Prairie, and we kind of had dogs running around. And I had this neighbor buddy, and he had this quad, and he would drive his quad around. And I don't know what I was thinking, but my other friends convinced me that when this quad was moving, I was going to jump off this doghouse and try and jump on the quad while it was moving. And that is what I attempted to do as a very, very dumb 5-year-old kid. And when I did that, I leapt out in the air, and I don't know why I was thinking of going like Spider-Man, but I came down and I hit so hard on my chest that I knocked the wind out of me. And I lost my breath for a long time. I ran inside, and my dad was trying to figure out how to get me to breathe again. And I just had lost my breath for so long. And finally I came through, but I was literally blue in the face after I'd missed getting on the quad and fell flat on my chest. And that was a very traumatic first memorable experience for me. But there are positive and negative first experiences. But what is your very first childhood, if you can, most memorable experience? So let's start with Christian.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topic Master, for this interesting question. And I can also add a dramatic story to that. When I was probably also 5 or 6 years old, I was standing in Berlin at a bus stop with my grandmother and my mother. And it was a very busy 2-lane highway. And suddenly, and I was playing around and daydreaming and so on. And suddenly I realized that a car without a driver was running towards me. And I was literally very close being hit by that car, and just did a step beside, so the car smashed into a door just beside me. The car was towed by a truck, and for any reason, the tow truck was turning a curve, and by that, the car was disconnected from the truck and was running by himself. So that was unforgettable for me. Nothing happened to me. It was a big drama. The police came and they did an interview with me. And I don't know what happens to the driver if he got fined or whatever, but it was something I will never forget. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Table Topic Master.
Awesome. Great job, Christian. I don't know if I should ask this question now, because now all these negative experiences are coming back to me, all these negative things that I've experienced as a kid.
Had a good end, so it was not bad.
Anyway, well, we're all alive. We all made it, so
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we'll have some good endings.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next table topic speaker to tell us about their most memorable experience. How about we hear from Karen? Let's see what Karen has experienced in her life.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. As I was listening to the 2 prior speakers, I'm flooded with these most embarrassing memories of my inaugural events. And there's so many to choose from. Just a plethora of inaugural embarrassing events. So where shall we start? I'm going to start with driving. I grew up with summers on the farm where there was always an amazing sort of old vehicles, really, really old vehicles, and dust, rusty vehicles that the chickens were allowed to play in. My very first memory of learning how to drive was this disgustingly orange Ford pickup truck where the gear shift was really, really tough and you had to like really yank on it. And I'm driving down a gravel road with my grandfather on one side, and he's just, hit it, Karen. And I didn't really hit it, but he put his foot on the gas pedal and he said, let's go. And there I was, screaming my face off, driving down the gravel roadway in this horrible old orange truck and traveling. That was my very first memory of learning how to drive, and I completely was underage. I don't even think I could see over top of the steering wheel, but it was the country, and that's just simply what you did in the country. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Nicely done, Karen. That brings back to me some memories of my first driving experiences, but we're not going to talk about that. Let's move on to find about a first childhood experience from Neha.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Everyone is talking about how they're being flooded with memories of all these negative experiences, but I am actually having a hard time remembering a lot of my inaugural experiences. And I think anything that was really embarrassing, my brain has pushed to the back of my head, so I don't remember a lot, but I somewhat remember my first skiing experience. So I was around 7 or 8 years old and I went with 3 of my other family friends and I was scared out of my mind. And it didn't help that my mom was also very scared for me. So I had all this fear going in like into the ski resort. And it was not really a ski resort, it was at Snow Valley. And so 2 of my friends already knew how to ski. So they went to the, like the bigger hills, and then me and my other friend had never skied before. And so I remember at one point I put it on the skis and then I fell down and I couldn't get back up because I had absolutely no strength. And then there was another point where I can't remember if we went to the top. It was a bunny hill, and I can't remember if we went to the top of the hill or if we were still at the bottom, but we just couldn't go up on it. We were too scared to go down the hill. So then my parents had sleds in the back of their car. So they just gave us the sleds, and then we took the sleds and went down the bunny hill with the sleds. But obviously you're not allowed to do that. So after a couple of times, we got kicked out of Snow Valley. So that was my first skiing experience, and I have never been skiing again. And I honestly regret it. It seems like a really fun time, but so maybe I'll try it again sometime in the future. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Nicely done. I've also had those first skiing experiences. And yeah, once you get past, 3 or 4 times and you start to actually get good, it is quite fun, actually. Let's find out about another childhood experience from Mark.
Yes, this is definitely bringing back memories, good and bad, for sure. I certainly, as Karen has mentioned, have a lot of regrets and certain things, and there's obviously moments that have been good. But one thing that stands out, when I was little, I had a dog, and he was pretty much my best friend. We lived on a farm, and we had a number of turkeys that we were raising. One morning, the dog killed 40 of them. And then we, at a later point in time, he actually got back in and did it again. And when I came home one day, the dog was gone, and in his place was a rabbit. And unfortunately, that wasn't going to cover it. So the loss of that dog was actually just one of the most crushing moments. And I understand what he was doing, but something had to be done. But it was a traumatic moment for me to lose my best friend. That's a memory I I think back on sometimes. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Good job. Thank you, Mark. I'm not even going to tell you what happened to my first dog. It's just too sad of a story. We're not even going to go there. But we are going to go to our next table topic speaker to tell us about their early childhood experience. Let's ask Leonel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topic Master. Just we have to transport to be in my country. 40, 50 years ago, I was a child. Don't think about me, think about a 5 years old child. I was living in the city with my father and mother. My father was a journalist, but a weekend, my grandmother, my lovely grandmother, she wanted to be with me in the farm, in the town, not in the city. And at that time, I was glad to be there, picking some mangoes, picking some fruits, bananas, and everything was okay. But I don't live in that part of the town. I just something that, and then I told my grandmother, Abuela, I want to be. Oh yes, not a problem. Go to that bush. No. I want to go to the bathroom. We don't have bathroom here. Well, mother, and I ran. She tried to catch me, and she caught herself in her feet because of the trees. And that was the only and one disagreement with my grandmother. Then we found a bathroom, real bathroom, and relieved. But then we come again with a lovely grandmother to my city. Back to you, Mr. Table Topic Master.
Nice, Leonel. Well, I got to admit, that's a pretty interesting story you got there, Leonel. I must say, I've had similar experiences. I believe we have time for just one more question, one more table topic speaker to tell us about their childhood experience. So we're going to move over to Pierre. If you can tell us about an early childhood experience you had.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. One of my favorite childhood memories was back in the 90s when my family would travel a lot during the summer break. We'd have this two-tone blue 1979 GMC Suburban, and we had this camper that we would tow on the East Coast, going from in different regions from lower southern Quebec to some parts of Ontario, and sometimes to the east coast of the United States. So Vermont, Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts, even New York. We had so many great memories there. One in particular that stands out was when we went to Niagara Falls, and there were these slides when we went down, and my father who was quite the adventurer, decides to go, and somehow me as the kid decides to go all the way out there with him. And my mom is worried because it seems so dangerous for me as a kid to follow. And then I go down following my father, and then at the end I'm laughing my head off, but then I'm getting up, and then I'm just walking, and it's all wobbly, and people are just wondering what's up with the kid that's just seeming all drunk. Back to you, Mr. Master. Table Topics Master.
Awesome. Great job, Pierre. Thank you very much. All right, so that's all the time we have for our table topic speakers tonight. Pretty much everyone gave an answer except myself and Patrick. Patrick, of course, is our table topics evaluator, so it's kind of fitting that we end in such a way. I'm going to give a quick recap. Do we have a poll set up for our table topics tonight? No? Okay. So think about who you thought was the best table topic speaker as I go through the recap, and send me your vote for the best table topic speaker tonight. Of course, our first table topic speaker was Christian, talking about a runaway car experience. Karen told us about her first driving experience. Neha told us about her first skiing experience and how she got caught on the sled and then kicked off the hill. Mark told us about the loss of one of his first dogs. Leonel told us about a disagreement that he had with his grandma. And of course, Pierre told us about his adventure following his father. Those are your 6 table topic speakers tonight. Send me your vote for who you thought was the best, and I will tally them up for the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.